All right, 4.2, guys. We're going to talk about standard form of line. So, in the last lesson, we kind of hit upon slope-intercept form and point-slope form. So today, what I want to talk about in this lesson is standard form of a line. Now, standard form of a line looks like this, where it's ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c are integers, and a is positive. Now, a is always usually associated with the coefficient on x. So that means that the x term should be the positive term. Now, it's not necessarily wrong if it has a negative 2x. So what I'm saying is 2x plus 3y equals 12 is the appropriate form. Could you technically have negative 2x minus 3y equals negative 12? Yes. I technically just took the first problem and I just multiplied everything by negative 1, both sides. By negative 1, I get the same, it's going to be the same line. But because we as mathematicians, in the last one I said we're lazy, we like to do things in the quickest, easiest way possible, we also know that as a human, we like order. We like things to be consistent. We don't like change. And so they made it so that your x's go first, then your y's, but then they want that to be a positive coefficient. So that's why they would either multiply both sides by negative 1 to get to here, or they would actually add 2x over here, add 3y to both sides, and then add 12, rearrange it, you still get the same thing. I'm not going to be very picky. You technically could have the 12 first equaling 2x plus 3y. Now, some teachers do not like that, so just be kind of careful on that. So I came up with 3 steps for finding or writing a standard form of a line. First, guys, find the equation in either point-slope form or slope-intercept form. So basically, do what you just did in the last lesson. Then, I just want, instead of saying solving for y and leaving it, I want you to put x and y on the same side. Just make sure the x's are positive. So, what I want you to do, before you do anything else, after writing an equation or getting it with the slope in there and all that stuff, could have fractions, I don't care. Move to the side that would make the x's positive. Then, we're going to talk about, hey, we don't like fractions. They have to be nice whole numbers or integers. And so, multiply both sides of the equation. That gets rid of any type of fraction or decimals. Remember, multiplying by powers of 10, move decimal places to the right. And so you can do it that way, or find the LCM, least common multiple, or least common denominator multiple of a number, and then multiply by that to get those to be canceling out as well. So the examples I have, and this is it actually, is just this in your homework, is kind of like we did in the last lesson with I got 2 points, we'll have to find a slope and put it into a form. And this one is actually already in slope-intercept form. So here's a cool thing. X's are positive already here, which means I'm going to get this y to the same side as that x. And to do so, I am going to subtract y from both sides. Now, if I wanted to do this in one step, that means y minus y is 0. Don't forget that. I'll have 2x minus y plus 4. Now, some of us are already at the point, potentially, that I could have said I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides as well. But I am not doing it that way today, but I will have to get rid of this constant, or a 4, to say subtract 4, because that's how to get rid of a positive 4 or a plus 4. And I get 2x minus y. Now this is standard form to me. Now again, some teachers will make you rewrite it so that the x's are first. And it's all nice whole numbers. That's awesome. I like it. Notice that I didn't change anything. This whole side just went to the left and the negative 4 goes to the right. It's still equal for equal. It's fine. A equals B, B equals A. Transitive proper, not transitive. 'Cause 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 'c trying to think. A, is that transitive? Transitive is the A equals B and B equals C, so A equals C. Oh, let me pause the video and look that up. That's the commutative property of addition. So, you have it done. That's awesome. Now, the next one, we have to do a little investigative work here. I got 2 points, so right off the bat, I'm going to call it x1, y1, x2, y2. It does not matter. And this one, I'm going to use a formula, so I'll write it down. M equals, and it happens to be the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so, start filling it in. 6 minus 3 over 4 minus 2. That works out nice. So I get 3 over 2. I get 3 halves. 3 halves is the slope. And then I'm going to use point slope. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So make sure you're writing these formulas. Guys, take the extra time, write it down. I can't stress enough that the day you decide to do these little changes that do take a little bit of time up front, you will start to realize that this goes a lot faster, it goes easier, you're less likely to make mistakes, which then means it goes faster and you like math more. I'm not going to say you're going to enjoy it, but maybe you like it a little tiny bit more. So y minus 3 equals 3 halves and x minus 2. Oh boy. So I gotta get it to slope-intercept form now. And so I am not going to do anything with the y minus 3, but I am going to distribute in, so that equals 3 halves x. And then what would happen with the 2's? What happens with 3 over 2 times 2? Remember, that's really 2 over 1. The 2's will cancel. So you end up with minus 3. Awesome. Now, do you notice that you have this really close? And I guess we could, I'm going to say that we need to still, we'll just group it up. Put it in standard form. You don't have to put it exactly into slope-intercept form, because I now have a bunch of things here. I got x's, I got y's, and I got some constants, some numbers. So I see that x is positive right here. So I am going to subtract y. And if you want, you could say, hey, I know I got to get rid of that 3. To get rid of a minus 3, I'm going to add 3. And so if I add 3 to one side, I have to do it to the other. Because what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So those are gone. Those are gone. Those are gone. Wait. All of this is just gone. So that means it is a 0 equals 3 halves x minus y. Now, granted, I am running out of room here, and it looks like it might be on the little hand there. So I'm going to write it off to the side here. Give me some time. I don't like that. Nope. Okay. So, it looks like I can't do that. But do you recognize that it's still 0 now equals 3 over 2x minus y? I don't like this fraction. I don't like things in the denominator. It has to be a nice integer, whole numbers, those types of things. So, what you're going to do then is you're going to multiply everything by a number that gets rid of that 2. And that just happens to be 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 3 halves is 3, because the 2's will cancel. So 3x minus 2y. And you now just put it into standard form. Okay guys, I was looking at the homework and I realized that I forgot to, in that last slide, I know I said only one slide, we're going to have 2. I need to graph this. So I want to quickly show you that if you got an equation in standard form, it is really simple to graph this line. the best way to do it is what I say is going to the eye doctor. And if you go to the eye doctor, maybe not recently in the last couple months, but what they'll do is they put that instrument in front of your face, or even the big large spoon, and they have you cover up an eye. And so when I say cover up, it's because I want to find the x and y intercepts. And remember back to what x and y intercepts mean. It means where does it cross the x-intercept, where does it cross the y-intercept, or axis, sorry. And so they have zeros. So if I have a 0 in the x, that means I am finding a y-intercept. So I'm going to find a y value. If I have a 0 in the y, that means I can find an x-intercept. I'm going to find an x value. Now the reason why I say cover up is because if I put 0 in for x, I'm going to use this cursor, I'm going to cover it up. And if I cover it up, because 2 times 0 is 0, I don't have it there anymore. So now all I'm worrying about is when does 3y equal 12 over here? When does 3y equal 12? Because this is gone, cover it up. And so 3y equals 12, divide both the 3y and the 12 by 3, so y equals 4. And I could do the same thing here. If I put a 0 in for y, 3 times 0 is gone, so I cover it up. When does 2x equal 12? 2 times what is 12? It's a 6. And so here's the really cool thing about this. This is how easy they can be. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, put a dot. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, put a dot. And then connect them. And you now have equation in standard form graphed. So finding your x and y intercepts is the best thing to do when you're given standard form. If I'm given slope-intercept form, I'm going to put the intercept and then move slope. Okay, so listen up for your homework. So for your homework, I want you to actually do all 6 problems. These 6 problems, I want you to write it in point-slope form. I want you to write it in slope-intercept form and standard form for each line. Then I want you to graph it. I want you to graph these 2 and those 2. Okay. Now what I mean by this, when I have slope-intercept and then the other 2 say standard, is because I want you to practice your skill with finding the intercept in moving slope, and I also want you to practice your skill, like the last example, of finding your x and y intercepts using the cover-up method. Now, we didn't talk about, hey, write it in point-slope form. Remember, y equals mx plus b is what we generally really like to see. That is the slope-intercept form, right? Slope-intercept form. Y minus y1 equals, m times x minus x1 is the point slope form, and ax plus by equals c is what we call standard form. Now when it says write it in point slope form, all I want you to do is fill in m, y1, and x1, stop. So it looks like this. Y minus 3 equals 2 times x minus 4. That would be point slope form. Now obviously our next step would be to distribute and then add over 3, and then it puts it in slope-intercept form. So guys, these are stepping stones along the way. Everything kind of steps along to the point where then at some point you can rearrange everything. Okay, so going back to your homework, I need all 6 problems done, written in point slope form, slope-intercept form, and standard form. But then I want you to graph this 5 and 8 using slope-intercept and 7 and 10 using standard form. Have a great day, guys.